and welcome to episode 176 of Masters of the Forge. So, we're kind of sneaking this one in. Thanks for joining me on a weird time, Sunday afternoon. And so, a funny story, I've never actually just sat down and done show notes for an entire, lore plus, review episode all in one sitting. I usually do it a few hours at a time here and there, but today I had the day off because I took a long weekend. I took a Friday and Monday off, so I said,
Nice.
Wendy had to go do do a family thing this afternoon.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's fine. I'll just hang out with Quinn and do these show notes. I literally worked from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. at my computer with a lunch break and periodically getting up to do something with Quinn or Sunny.
Yeah. Okay.
It's literally a full day of work, which is hilarious. Now,
because your day off.
I like to reiterate, that we do not read off of a wiki when we're doing these episodes. I know there are a lot of YouTube channels that do that, but we don't do that. So, anyways, I just thought I'd make our listeners feel bad, and
remember we've got a Patreon.
We do have a hey, great segue, Jason. We have
Bingo,
a Patreon.
high
Please,
five.
okay. Yeah. Anybody who donates to the Patreon can feel free to just not care about what I just said, because you've paid for the joy of not caring what I'm talking about. So that's cool. Anyways, so hobby progress. I finished all that building I was working on last time.
Yeah.
It was really the last Squig Hog riders that were a big pain, just because they're so fiddly and they're extra for painting, but they're also a little extra for building because they have the people on them, and these ones have 2 people on them because they have the grot on it as well.
Right.
So I was just kind of trying to mix and match parts, so I didn't have just the same 3 Squig Hog riders for every model. So I tried
you want to go through and modify them, yeah.
Yeah, so I tried swapping the riders on some and the arms on some, which is tough because one arm is on all of these is grasping on the Squig Hog.
Oh,
so
yeah.
For a few, I had to modify with green stuff to make it work. I was thinking about swapping out weapons, but I decided to just have them all keep the same weapon. But since the bodies are a bit different on all of them, the way they're holding the spear, their shoulder is up or down or level. So if you put an arm that was intended for the up arm on a shoulder that is intended for the down arm, it's a totally different look. So it's a different thrust. So it almost looks like they're different poses anyways. Heads, no big deal. All the heads are the same on these new models, except for maybe 1 or 2. So that worked out nicely. I swapped out some of those for the ones I got for the boys kit and all that. And the Gretchen, I did swap out for some. There's some Gretchen that come with back banners for some of these other models. There's some that come with the Storm Boys that are the right size and whatnot. So those work out nicely. So I did manage to get a little bit of variety on the saddle gits, is what they're called. Saddle gits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a break from the orcs for a little bit. Tucker gave me a Kragnos project to do.
Yeah.
And I'm following Duncan's video on that one. Not to the letter, but I'm following it and trying to do the same steps with some of the same colors, or at least similar colors. So I'm done with the skin and the hair. And now I have to go through and pick out all the metal. So that's going to take a very, very, very long time, that metal. Because it's aged bronze. So it starts out green and like some parts of it start green, some parts of it start metallic, and they kind of somewhere in the middle they meet.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's a big boy. It's the big, like, dear God. Dear God. Dear God.
Was that a pun? Yeah.
It's a very old one. It's like devious. You cast devious stairs, but it's like a D&D spell where, you know, the stairs Scooby Doo, they like turn into a slide. That's devious. Okay. That's the devious stairs spell. It's a level 1 spell. It's no big deal.
Well, I went to a play the other night where it's a Halloween based play, and the narrator's name was M.T. Graves. You know,
that's
that
fantastic.
Was pretty funny. Yeah,
I approve of that. I think that's delightful.
It was fun.
I am proud of that person.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that person. Quinn's very excited about Halloween.
Oh yeah, man.
He can't wait. Halloween rules. Yeah. Oh, it's delightful. Quinn has a message for everybody out there. What do we say at the store? What do we say at the store? At the Halloween store, what do we say?
Happy Yay! That's right.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a great time. He's gonna have a great time on Halloween.
We're gonna have a beautiful day. So, Jason, what have you been working on in your hobby progress?
Honestly, not a lot. It looks like more on the page than it really is.
Well, you know how to pad a resume. That's fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's welcome to academia, man. Yeah. Anyway, so the Penumbral Engine, which is an AOS terrain piece, looks really cool. It looks kind of like a clockwork mechanism of some sort. I picked that up and built it. Man, it's fun. The layout is really amazing in that I could not find one piece, and I built almost the entire thing until I realized that one piece was actually attached in the middle of one of the circular pieces, and I thought it was like the whole structure, but there was actually the piece, and then inside the piece was like more sprue, and then the last bit, and I was like, wow, okay, this is, obviously this is some computer aided design, but I mean, it's a really cool kit. I really like it. It's I'm thinking about picking up one or two maybe for a Thousand Suns themed board, because I think it would work really well.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, the Age of Sigmar terrain is pretty sweet.
It's kind of weird because I've been looking over their terrain, and more of the terrain looks like stuff you would expect maybe in the Thousand Suns, universe or whatever, or their world. So, because there are times just like, the Fortress of Redemption seems a little Dark Angels sort of thing, and some of the other stuff just looks very much like it belongs, in space with Space Marines, whereas the Thousand Suns stuff is much more magical and mystical and whatever. So,
right,
yeah. All right. The Siren Dread, which is my Dreadtober commitment, which we'll see if that gets done. That and the Termies from our last marathon, I finally primed and did them in Candy Apple Red. It's been that busy of a semester, kids. Whew.
Right.
But it's in red now. It looks really good. I did order what did I order? I ordered some weapons for it, but they're on back order from Forge World, so who knows when I'll get them. May not be till December, or November, so I'm just going to count the body and shoulders for Dreadtober. Let's see. Okay, so I have a Sorcerer, an Exalted Sorcerer, an Aspiring Sorcerer, and an Infernal Master, which this should be like a really terrible Thousand Suns joke, but I'm just not creative enough to pull it off right now. So, anyway, I wet blending all of their cloaks because I need to practice on wet blending. The one that goes from kind of a pink to a dark purple seems to like be the best of the group. The blue, which was like two different colors of blue, just doesn't have the contrast. Just doesn't, just even though I blended the two together and I kind of know where they They are. I need to dial up the contrast on that one.
Okay.
And somehow I've forgotten how to paint green, and that's kind of annoying. I'm a little offended about that because that's actually the model I like the best. So I got to figure that out. I got to go practice on that. I'm sure someone will tell me, I'm doing it wrong, and they're right. Yeah, man. Let's
it's
see.
okay to do it wrong.
Yeah, and let's see. Last one. I did pick up the new. We're not talking about it today, but I picked up the new Crusade mission book for Octarius, and
Nice.
we're definitely going to be doing a mission or an episode on this book because there's some stuff in here that I think might answer some of our gripes from before on previous Crusade mission books.
Right. Yeah, I think it will too.
Well, because we both liked Beyond the Veil quite a bit.
We did. We liked Beyond the Veil missions, but we liked the Book of Rust layout. Not Book of Rust, whatever it is, Engine War layout.
Yeah.
And I think it's, spoiler alert, I think it's a lot of the cool asymmetrical missions from Beyond the Veil, but with the nice, you don't need to pick up the core rule book during your game type book layout that we got in Engine War. So I'm gonna try to get some games in personally, and I know you're busy, but you probably have some time to read through some of them, I'm sure, and we'll talk about it. And maybe we will try to get a game together. That would be super nice.
That'd be nice. I'd love to get a game in. Just been busy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the semester's going to end sooner or later, whether I like it or not. Maybe I should grade. Maybe I should grade this semester. What do you think, Adam?
I mean, that sounds like a lot of work, but you can give it a shot.
Yeah, I might. We'll see. I haven't done it yet, so whatever.
So I did get some games in. I played a game versus Snooty's Death Watch for matched play. That was a lot of fun. I think we'll try to get a recording in before too long with the new Death Watch rules from this book.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I saw there were some in there. I didn't read.
Yeah, it's like an army of renown. It only includes kill teams, Death Watch kill teams. You're not allowed to take dreadnoughts and stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah. It might be good for. I think that would be a good one for a city fight. So maybe we'll do.
Sounds like that. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a 50 power level city fight just with packed terrain, and he can run his guys, and I can run commandos. Yeah. I think that'd be fun. What were you gonna say? Or Zone Mortalis or something?
I was gonna actually say an underground thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I was thinking about the second Death Watch book from Steve Parker. I think it's the second one. I don't remember. Maybe it was the first one where they're messing with the Gene Stealers, and there's a large part of the book takes place underground.
Right. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
that sounds fun. I also had
Zone Mortalis.
Yeah, I also had an Age of Sigmar game with Tucker. I played my Lizards versus his Daughters of Cain.
All right.
I played Science. I played. I played my Big Thunder Lizard list, and I didn't like it as much. It was good, but I didn't like it as much. I kind of felt like I did with the Carriage on Overlords with my just having a few big monster type units fighting against a Science. It didn't feel like a real army. I didn't feel like a real army, and I want to go back to playing just all my lizards, or make a new army, which is fine. I might be picking up John's Empire army.
Okay, well,
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't have to put it in your house.
She's right outside my wallet. She's always listening. Anyways,
no, I didn't get any games in. Okay.
Beyond the Fringe. My Beyond the Fringe is cabin weekend. This past weekend I went, my buddy Gene got a cabin that he's doing rentals with. And he kind of wanted our opinion on like stuff that he would want to get for the house or do to the house for renters, for people who do vacation rentals. So we hung out all weekend, played board games, went on like a 6-mile hike. Sonny and Cora had just the best of time.
Yeah.
They're best friends. Cora is Sonny's girlfriend, and they are inseparable. Aww. It was pretty great. We had a really nice time.
That's Jay's dog, right?
That's Jay's dog. Yeah, Cora. Okay. She's a husky. So Sonny and Cora were very good. Yeah. And we played a lot of games. I made that's like Hobby Progress. I made my own Can't Stop board.
I saw that.
Pieces. So I 3D printed little cones. They're like stackable cones. Yeah. And spray painted the 4 different colors. And I just made a board on MDF board. And we played on that. We played one of those. We played a lot of Space Base though. We love Space Base. It's just the best. It really is.
I think I've played that with you once.
Yeah, probably on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah, I remember liking it, but I can't remember how it went.
Right. Well, it's one of those games where I played it on Tabletop Simulator, and the next day I bought it for real. Like, it's one of those where I need to own this game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
right.
Tabletop Simulator is almost a gateway drug there.
It really is, which is good. Yeah. Which is good. But yeah, that's my Beyond the Fringe. What are you doing?
So a couple of things, like what was it?
What
a couple
did you
of days
do?
ago I watched. Huh? Wait, what?
I'm a little confused about what you wrote under Beyond the Fringe.
Oh, yeah. So I saw Tomorrow War, which is on Amazon, and because I haven't been doing anything except like
you just don't know the actor's name. It has Star-Lord in it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Got it.
Star-Lord, whatever. Anyways, that'd be a great 40K Tyranid invasion movie. Like, that's pretty much it.
Ah, okay. Right. That sounds fun.
My real Beyond the Fringe, though, is a book from Silvia Moreno Garcia. It's not a 40K book. It's not at all. It's kind of a vampire horror. And I say horror, and it kinda, just because it doesn't have that much horror in it, I guess, or maybe I'm just whatever. But it's set an alternate timeline where vampires, and there are multiple species of vampires that have taken over the Mexican drug cartels. And it's set in modern day Mexico City. And it is a wild read. Lots of really good world building in here, and it seems to be a one-off. Like, she hasn't written anything else with it, which I hope that she revisits the world for future novels, because it's it's really good. And I don't know. Well, actually, I know why she hasn't written second ones, because when she originally got it published, the people who published it got bought out the next year, and so anyway, but yeah, it's really a pretty great book. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. There's a lot of good
there's a lot of good vampire. There's subgenres where it's more intrigue than horror, which is reminiscent of the old Vampire the Masquerade and whatnot.
This might be more kind of a war between families, I guess.
Right.
So I don't know if that would. Right. I'm not sure even how to explain. Yeah, maybe intrigue, but no.
More Shakespearean and in nature. Yeah.
There you go.
And I want to say, setting wise, my brain immediately goes from Dusk Till Dawn, because it's a vampire movie set in Mexico. But
well, it's in DF in Mexico City, which is a little more.
Okay, that's way farther south than I think it was Tijuana or something.
Yeah, well, Tijuana.
It was just over the border. Was the movie there?
The border areas are a little more wild, shall we say, than the interior. saying this living on the border, and
Yep, on both
yeah,
sides.
yeah,
Great. Great. That sounds like a fun book. Folks
yep,
should check that out. Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
yep.
So for the Astropathic Communique, we have some fun things coming up from Games Workshop. One of them is
Did you see those?
delightful.
Yeah, yeah. You want to say it, or you want me to talk about it?
You tell me.
I think they're trolling us. Okay,
Oh,
so
really?
GW is releasing an advent calendar, and they're all
Uh-huh.
chibi Marines. Like, they're literally Marines that are chibi figures. And I'm wondering if they're trolling us, the Masters of the Forge, personally, because we've been calling them chibi Marines for a year and a half. Maybe, so I don't know. What do you think?
I think that they're delightful, and I need it in my life.
Oh, well, yeah, that goes without saying. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Like how dare you? Anyways, also I think we'd be reminiscent if we didn't mention that Games Workshop did send us a Black Templar starter box. We shunted that right off to Tucker. He's in the process of building those and doing some head swaps and whatever. I'm very excited about that, and we're gonna probably play a game for the our Battle Report show. What do we call that again?
Altar of War?
That's it. Masters of the Forge, Altar of War. We're probably going to do it for that. And that'll be fun.
Yeah.
There also, well, we won't go into that just now. So there's all kinds of fun stuff in there. And so I read some of the lore, and it turns out like Gilliman came to Helbrecht, like personally, because Helbrecht could probably I think people were a little worried that they might not see eye to eye, and they definitely don't see eye to eye. I mean, clearly Gilliman does not think the Emperor is a deity of any kind. But also Helbrecht, you got to remember, Helbrecht considers Gilliman the Emperor's son, which is kind of like meeting Jesus if they weren't the same person. So like,
and Dorn's dead, so
even if there was so even if he is a little like they don't see eye to eye on everything, it's still like, well, I don't see eye to eye with God, so but still I have to, he's still God. So Gilman just had to remind Helbrecht that he is a defender of humanity, not his personal like quests. He can't just worry about his own hang-ups and his own enemies like like Gazgul. Like Helbrecht has been bent on finding and killing Gazgul. So Helbrecht agreed to break up the chapter a little bit and defer a little bit more to his generals, promoting several Marines to Marshal, and send them to aid the Ecclesiarchy while he went after the Greenskins. He actually never disagreed with using the Primaris.
Interesting.
Like, there was no conflict there. Gilman came over and was like, "Here's some Primaris," and Helbrecht is like, "Yeah, good, thank you." Oh, you mean God made these for me? Okay,
cool.
Right? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like, oh, thank you, Son of God, for giving me more of the thing God makes. So, I don't think I think there are a few people who never considered that point of view when thinking of whether Helbrecht would accept the Primaris or accept Gilliman. So it was very interesting. There's lots of Crusade stuff in there. There's also a name generator.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I'm very excited.
What's last time we saw one? Well, no, we only skipped one of those, right? Okay.
No, there hasn't been one in a while. So
there hasn't?
It's very exciting that there's.
Yeah, that's right. Because I
there's an
haven't rolled
engine
for them
generator.
in a while, and I haven't had to go do that edit on the audio. Okay, yeah.
No, we're gonna have to do that at some point. You know, Tucker has the book. I know I took a picture.
Yeah.
We'll do it another time. But yeah, the name generator is very important. All right, well, I think that's it for the Astropathic Communique, and that's it for the intro. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna start talking about the Octarius, the lore for the Octarius sector, and you know, we're gonna start off with talking about our old friend, Crazy Looney Bins, Inquisitor Cryptman. Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det ikke bikkje, det en slags ting. Den imiterer bikkje, men det ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Aw, come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh yes, Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zotabix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert depths.
Ah!
Zotabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached. Welcome back! I would like to start with a reading from the hymnal.
Oh, yes.
Page, I think it'll be like page I. No, it's page 1. It's not
nice.
a Roman numeral page. It's a actual page 1. I want to do a Inquisitor Cryptman quote, if I may, that they plugged here in the beginning. Now, what kind of a voice do you think Inquisitor Cryptman has? I'm looking at this John Blanche drawing here.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm assuming comes from either the Inquisitor's lore book that they talk about, or the there's the Inquisition rule book, which actually has a John Blanche pen and ink drawing of Gav Thorpe as an Inquisitor in it, which is
what? Really?
Fascinating. I dropped that sucker in this in the folder for this episode. You got to see it. And
Okay.
But this is Inquisitor Cryptman. Actually, okay, maybe I didn't drop it in. Oh no, that's the quartered successors. Yeah, see how the sausage is made here, people. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, Inquisitor core rulebook. It's towards the end. Yes, it's Gav Thorpe, young Gav Thorpe as an Inquisitor. It's fantastic. But I think that this Cryptman, it looks like he's a smoker. So I'm going to read it as a 300-year-old smoker. Here we go. They call me a shameless gambler. They call me reckless menace. They call me murderer. Do they not understand what is at stake? What is the loss of 1 billion souls against extinction? What is the loss of 1 trillion, 1 quadrillion more yet? When doom is the alternative, we must be willing to pay any price. It is a simple question of logic, one that my former peers refuse to acknowledge. They do not realize that it is the Inquisitors' sacrifice to lose their humanity in order to save the species. There is no room in this galaxy for thoughts of compassion, mercy, or kindness. Not for those of us with knowledge that are that gifts and curse both. Instead, there is naught but duty. Humanity will only survive by the actions of those with hearts of ice and stone, and minds of sharpened steel. I am no gambler, menace, or murderer. I am an assessor of the facts and taker of action. Those who scorn me will see that I am right before all this is done. Former Inquisitor Fidus Cryptman of the Order Xenos.
Cool. So I found the picture of Gav. It's page 178. And what's funny is I was flipping through it and I saw pictures like, I think that's Gav. And I went back to it and it says Gav above it.
Inquisitor Gav Thorpman.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it looks like him, except with, more facial modifications than, I don't know. Maybe he's pulled out modifications he's had. Who knows? Anyways, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, well, and I think John Blanche does do portraits like that for his friends sometimes.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I've seen a few online that he's posted.
Yeah.
All right. So again, this as we said before, these lore segments are scripted, but we add our thoughts in, and they're all original thoughts. So the Octarius Sector is a territory within the Ultima Segmentum, slightly east of Badab within the Imperium Sanctus. So it's on the light side, on the kind of the edge of the Ultima Segmentum. Mm-hmm. The region is fairly deep within the galaxy, representing a dense patch in the inner spiral arm. So like 2 bands over from Terra. So pretty far away. And it's a dense star cluster, right? So not cluster, but like a dense patch of stars. So there's a lot more. Yeah. We're in a fairly lonely part of the galaxy on Earth compared to where the Octarius Sector is.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of stars there. So lots of food for the Tyranids.
Oh, yeah. That's the brunch.
Yeah. So although we've
brunches,
segmentum Brenner, although we've talked about him before, the story of the Octarius Sector cannot be told without discussing Inquisitor Fidus Cryptman. And I think our previous discussion was very brief. So this involves a lot more source material. So his involvement with the Tyranids dates back well over 300 years. I actually don't know how old he really is, but like he's been active as an Inquisitor at least that long. Yeah. So he's old as dirt.
Yeah.
He was first one to kind of put together all the disparate information about these Xenos. There had been pieces of information collected about them for a long time, but nobody had ever connected the dots. About a year after the world of Tyran fell, Cryptman found the defending commander Mechanicus Magos Explorator Varnak's data cache there. Mm-hmm. So this explorator, the text isn't super specific, but he's an explorator, so he had a bunch of other information, right? He's someone who would have gone into a lot more detail about his findings. Not like a human rogue trader who's only interested in resources, or a military commander who's only interested in like force strength. This is a scientist who would have been cataloging like abnormalities in the planets and the other structures around them. And this helped Cryptman see a pattern in the destruction of the worlds that we know all too well today, that they're totally drained of all biological material, and they follow a path through the galaxy. Little side note here. Apparently, Hive Fleet, what was it? Anyway, there's a Hive Fleet that actually only snacks. It doesn't decimate worlds. It snacks on worlds and fortifies them like a regular, almost like a regular army, which actually might be it might be a modification to their behavior that keeps the Imperium off their tail, right? If you only see like, if they only like snack on these worlds and then move on, who's to say who's doing it? They might even go undetected. So that's very interesting. Anyways,
that is true. That's a thought. Okay.
Right. I think I talk about it a little bit later in the notes, but I don't remember. So with this data, he was able to deduce the path of the Tyranids and some of their motivations. With this knowledge, Ultramar would have without this knowledge, Ultramar would have most certainly fallen during the First Tyrannic War instead of stopping Hive Fleet Behemoth in its tracks at the end of that war, which is the famous stand of the first company at Ultramar.
So part of the Third Tyrannic War, this time against Hive Fleet Leviathan, was detailed in the Uriel Ventus novel by Graham McNeil, Warriors of Ultramar. The Battle of Tarsus Ultra describes in detail the Inquisitor's plan regarding the Tyranids. In this novel, we learn a bit more about Cryptman. Although he's known for his rather brutal strategies, I think, his decisions are informed by investigation and deduction like any other thoughtful Inquisitor. Well, there's two words you don't see together. Okay. Wow. Okay. See, that's what you get from me, everyone. Adam, you get these, thoughtful things, and you get snarky comments from me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. During Tarsus, Cryptman and his retinue investigated and studied the Tyranid's physiology and psychology. He keeps me Death Watch on hand in order to assist him in collecting data and evidence. He also has a Mechanicus retinue, including Magos biologists, who help him put the scientific pieces together in order to formulate solutions. In the novel, he sends the Death Watch to fetch him a lictor.
Go down to the corner store and get a cup of lictor.
Yeah, get a lictor, and if you can you pick me up a ham and cheese? So he can have this. The Magos make a poison that kills Tyranids with their own hyper-evolutionary abilities. Which novel is this again? I've not read this one.
It's
Warriors of Ultramar?
Graham McNeil. Yeah, he's got a lot of these Uriel Ventress novels. Mm-hmm. And they just put out a Uriel Ventress model recently.
Mini, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have not read.
I'm sure it's in an omnibus now.
Oh yeah,
it's got to be in that Ultramarines omnibus.
I'll have to put that on my reading list. All right. Still, Cryptman's advice during the operation was to exterminate the planet, despite there being other options. What was I talking about? Thoughtful Inquisitor earlier. All right, so, to be fair, even when you defeat the Tyranids before the planet is devoured, it's extremely unlikely that every Tyranid bioform is actually gone. This was the case on Tarsus Ultra, which was plagued with Tyranid vegetation that was slowly devouring the planet, even after the Imperium thought it had scoured the world of such life. Thanks to the involvement of the Mechanicus trying to meddle with the planet's crop production and the involvement of a Chaos Warband, the planet was eventually a total loss anyways. That's kind of interesting, like whenever you get any sort of Tyranid life form, is that just kind of it for that planet? I mean, if you have enough orcs that have died on a planet, that planet's SOL in a couple of
every
years.
once in a while you'll have to clear out the woods or whatever, the wild areas, and kill a bunch of orcs. You're always going to have to kill orcs after there's been orcs there. And I think it's the same way with Tyranids, or at least to some degree. They're going to be trying to digest that planet's biological material for later collection. But in this case, I think it was a short story where they were saying that the Mechanicus was trying to get life to grow there again after they slashed and burned everything. So they were trying to get the plants to grow, and this biologist thought, well, what if I just create this virus that accelerates growth of plants? That'll work. Unfortunately, it worked really well on the Tyranid plants, and the whole place was taken over by Tyranid plants. Pretty great.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's really
brutal.
funny. So these events led Cryptman to begin his first gambit, the creation of a dead zone cordon around the advancing Hive Fleet Leviathan. He ordered worlds evacuated where possible and exterminatus enacted wherever possible in order to halt the advance of the Hive Fleet, thus starving them to death. This is kind of old news. Everybody knows about this. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
The horror of such an act was just too much for the Lords of Terra and too many of Cryptman's contemporaries, and he was formally censured. It also didn't help that some of the worlds that had been virus bombed or irradiated were actually still fit for occupation by the orcs and kind of anybody else who has a high tolerance for that sort of thing. Exterminatus has a few forms, and only some of them actually crack the planet open.
Yeah.
Some of them they just get rid of all life or whatever, or firestorms. So yeah, the orcs actually got free planets out of it. So that pissed them off too. And other parts of the Imperium weren't going to start using this methodology because it was proven not to really work very well with the Imperium's two-dimensional thinking. We've talked about this before. I think we learned about it in the 9th edition Tyranid Codex, if I recall correctly, where Leviathan was, it's creeping through the galaxy in tendrils like the rest of them, right?
Right.
And they were like, well, they kind of know where we're going. Excuse me. They kind of know where we're going. What do we do? Oh, we'll just dive down under the galactic plane and then come up from the bottom like a orca or a shark coming after a seal. Instead of spreading out in tendrils, we'll just go down and then up again because the Imperials have no idea what the x-axis is.
Oh, that's funny. True.
That's funny. To be fair, in the Imperium's defense, so this is a whole other tangent, but I'm happy to go on it. So imagine, we travel through the warp, right? In 40K.
Yeah.
That's how we get from place to place. And the warp is a manifestation of our psychic energy.
Right.
So there are huge calm spots in space. We talked about this with the Blackstone Fortress. There was some of this lore in the Blackstone Fortress where if you have areas where there's no stars, the going is a lot slower because there's no people to create the warp. And it's the same way in the what's the sector of space that the Necrons have created the null zone in? It's the same deal.
Yeah.
The warp is just dead there because there's no people having their usual daydreams and nightmares. So same deal. I think it would be difficult, if not impossible, for the Imperium to use warp travel outside of the galaxy. The Tyranids don't use warp travel. The Tyranids use some kind of weird, gravitational, slingshot thing to go from star to star. So they point their ships at a star and use the target planet's gravity to pull them towards it super fast or some space magic nonsense. So all they have to do is they have to look at a quasar that's off the galactic plane or just like a rogue star off the galactic plane, jump to that one, and then jump back up into the galaxy like that.
Oh, okay.
Where the Imperium really doesn't have that luxury. They can't really fly out of the galaxy at any decent speed because of the issues with, there being no people's nightmares to fly through, which is just a horrifying thought. Can you imagine like sleeping and being like, why is there a star cruiser flying through my dreams?
That doesn't happen to you?
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Inquisitor Cryptman. So his excommunication from the Inquisition didn't stop him. He had another plan. he and his contemporaries in the Death Watch captured some gene stealers, which he sent off to lure the Hive fleet to the Orc Empire of Octarius. So, Tendril Schmendril, if you have someone sending out, if you send these gene stealers out and the gene stealers psychically tell, like the gene stealer cult, like Maggot, not Magus, whatever, whoever's in communication with the hive mind says, hey, there's food over here, they'll be drawn to that. It's like my in-laws bought this bag of disgusting death smelling fluid, and it attracts flies, and so the flies get caught inside it and they die.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So anyways, the Tyranids were more than happy to head over to Octarius to glut themselves on the orc biomass. And the orcs were extremely pleased about having a good scrap with the Tyranids. Tyranids and orcs came from all sectors around to fight on Octarius, and Kryptman, believing his stalemate to be successful, went back into obscurity, though he still does operate in the shadows. Even now, he's involved himself in the goings-on of Hive Fleet Tiamat. And that's the one I was thinking of, Hive Fleet Tiamat, who doesn't eat, they snack, they don't gorge themselves.
Well, that's interesting, Hive Fleet.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea.
I can't remember what the colors are, but that's okay. All right, so until recently, the Octarius Sector and its warlord, the Overfiend of Octarius, has only existed in the lore in relation to other forces, whether it be how the Empire interacts with the Tyranids or how it's worked with Gazgul in the past. Now the two forces of bioengineered greatness have been fighting each other long enough that they have become even stronger than they were before. Oh joy. The Tyranids have consumed incredible amounts of biomass and evolved exponentially. The orcs are swole with wog energy, and their thirst for conflict cannot be contained. So this is kind of a, unmovable object versus an unstoppable force, So recently, external forces have been poking at the Octarius Sector. There are rumors that the Runist powers have been meddling with the movements of orcs and Tyranid fleets. The most obvious disruption of Octarius has been Gazgul Thraka himself. He brought his massive fleet to the realm of the Overfiend with the intention of once again rallying them to the cause. Thraka was surprised to find vast fields of broken orc vessels and Tyranid bioforms, and eventually the world Octario totally besieged. Gazgul won the allegiance of the Overfiend Zog Steeltooth when he dove into the mouth of a Mawlok and fought his way out of it.
Yeah, he's having a good day. He knows how to get their attention, He
knows how to party,
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah, he does. Hive Fleet Tiamat is ice blue chitin and like white skin, so it's like almost an icy scheme. Pretty cool.
Huh. That is a pretty cool scheme.
So the arrival of Gazgul and the big fight that happened when he showed up drew even more orcs to the region. The collective psychic power of all these orcs whipped them into a frenzy, and caused Gazgul's coterie of mad boys to overload with Wa energy and send a massive blast out into space. A call heard by every warp touch soul throughout the galaxy. Even though the Tyranids, it was like a giant psychic Wa that he sent out. Mm-hmm. So even though the Tyranids are fighting back on Octaria, of course they came back. It's delicious. Yeah. This doesn't stop the orcs' exodus from the sector. It's not like they're being wiped out by this fight, right? They're still just operating. It's like any comedy movie where there's like a fight going on in the background and the characters are just talking to each other normally. It's like one of those things. Like, yeah, those guys, fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So the Tyranids are going to follow them out, or the orcs are going to follow the Tyranids out. They're still going to try to find their own path. Additionally, the Eldari of Craftworld Samhain and Biel-Tan have been at work in Octarius. Taking a page from Kryptman's playbook, they have been using doomsday weapons on various worlds in the region. But the pattern doesn't seem to indicate they're trying to cordon the entire region. They're not helping anybody but themselves.
Right. Well, I mean,
they're kind of directing them away from a specific area. They'd rather keep the orcs and the humans fighting, and the Tyranids and the humans fighting, and leave their own stuff alone.
Well, it is what, Samhain and Bulton? I mean,
Yeah, they're the worst.
yeah, they are the worst of the craft lords.
The Tyranids don't really need much external help to adapt in this situation in Octarius. They have started producing more and more Gaunt variants to fight all of their different kinds of prey, relying more and more on this backbone of their army. They're also expanding the influence of their synapse creatures to ensure these hordes are kept on task.
Yeah.
And that relates directly to the new Tyranid rules that are in this book. Yeah, they're like chain, the rules like chain the their influence, the synaptic. Yeah, it's really interesting. It like creates like giant groupings of synapse, which is really nice. It's unknown whether it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it looks
yeah,
really
I like
cool.
that. I like that. It's unknown whether Cryptman truly ever believed his cordon would work. He might be that arrogant. The idea was his idea was to just let the factions fight out until there was one severely weakened faction left, and destroy it with conventional war. He never thought that they would actually wipe each other out, but he figured they'd at least weaken themselves. But thanks to a lack of vision and understanding, and due to many external forces, truly Cryptman's only success was to delay the inevitable. You got to think of space, like a star, as not just a source of energy, but a source of food for both of these species, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you eat a planet and that's it. Especially if you've got orcs fighting you too. So you're all going to end up consuming the worlds, but then consuming each other to the point where there's almost no loss of energy in that system. I mean, there's always loss of energy in any system, but like not that much.
Yeah.
It's not like it would take millions of years to actually deplete all the energy in that life system, and it was pure folly to think that would happen.
Well, it's Cryptman's folly, so
yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the book. Warzone Octarius, Book 1. Ooh, Book 1. Rising Tide.
It's
so
clearly a Book 1, by the way. Yeah, it's not just... it says it on the cover, but nothing gets resolved. So, yes, it's a book. It's definitely the first part of a 2 or 3 part series.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the other books. All right. The book is told from a historic point of view, but unsurprisingly leaves the story unfinished for now. Throughout the text, there are messages from an agent, JBZ, to Cryptman, which give a few more personal details as to what is happening. There are also excerpts of communication throughout the sector, many of them designed to give a reason to involve species other than orcs, Tyranids, and humans. There are also excerpts from the journal of a rogue trader, Ava Falamore? Close enough, who's profiting from the conflict, but is playing a dangerous game. Several themes do permeate throughout the story as usual: aristocrats bad, hardworking, salt of the earth humanity good, etc.
As you do.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really look through the book yet. I was flipping through it, yesterday and today. All right, so the first responses to the breakout were, unsurprisingly, several Space Marine forces. The region was thick with watch fortresses, and the Death Watch are agile and fast enough to respond. So Watch Fortress Doombreak, Eye of Octors, and Fuhrer Shield have responded along with elements of other chapters. The Atlantean Spears, Blood Angel successors who don't seem very excited to be Blood Angel successors, are present. That sounds interesting.
It is.
Also, the Obsidian Jaguars are here in force because they want to get revenge upon the orcs for destroying their homeworld.
Yeah, we talked about these guys before. There was like a short story.
Yeah, well, actually, I found their color scheme. They finally have a color scheme because they didn't have those in the previous. So that's kind of cool. Blah, 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 blah. It is revealed in this book that they are an Ultramarine successor, even though we read in a recent story that they are close to Space Wolves. Paint schemes of other chapters present in the conflict are also listed in the book with a short description, including the Dark Angels, Wolf Spear, Silver Templars, Deathstrike, Knight of Abhorrence, White Panthers, Rift Cobras. Hold on.
That's a great
Celestial
name.
Guard, Rampagers, Darkspires, and Firelords. Okay, Rift Cobras. I saw that name last night and just kind of stopped and went, who are these guys?
They rule.
It doesn't say much.
No, it doesn't say much, but it's a great name.
Yeah.
And it's also a great paint scheme.
Oh, they didn't paint scheme for that one?
I'm not painting it.
Okay, because I
they
saw
are,
the name.
Oh no, they're just dark forest green. I was thinking of the Fire Lords.
Oh, Fire Lords.
That's a ridiculous paint scheme.
Yeah.
But the Rift Cobras, yeah, they're like forest green and then white cream. I don't know. Anyways, it's a great name. Rift Cobras responded to panic calls of aid from the penal world of Kurnak 5. They found themselves not only fighting the looting hordes of Nabrat Stubfingers, we're going to learn about him later, but also the armed rioting inmates. They crushed both with ruthless efficiency. In what was called the Dathran Massacre, they slaughtered thousands of convicts in a matter of minutes and also prevented the Greenskits from looting the vast armament of stockpile at Bastille 7C3.
Okay, very quickly. Rift Cobras. So they are black with kind of a red chest piece and kind of green accents. But look on the page, on the other page in front of it, the Knights of Abhorrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty similar scheme.
It is. That's a cool symbol too. I think that might be a Age of Sigmar decal. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
Yeah, they alternate here using a bunch of different decals, which is nice.
They also
those Dark Krakens are cool. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Dark Kraken's transfer sheet in White Dwarf before too long, because they are we're going to talk about those right now. So the Dark Kraken Space Marines are also present in force. The Dark Krakens are described in detail in the Octarius White Dwarfs. They're an ultimate founding successor of the Salamanders, who hail from the dark ocean world of Nactus. Their livery includes symbols painted in bioluminescent ink that they dive into the ocean of their planet and suck it out of the guts of the animals that live there. So these symbols are painted using nautical imagery, and they use these symbols to identify their many deeds in service. Lots of different, like, not just great things, but mundane things about them as well. There's some short stories in the White Dwarfs talking about the Dark Krakens and the Death Watch. And there is a Salamander Space Marine in there, and it shows you how they interact. Where let's just say it's very different from how the Dark Angels and their Primaris successors interact with each other.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's very amicable.
Wow.
It's like, did we just become best friends? Yes, we did.
So basically, it's like two golden retrievers just meeting each other. Okay.
For the first time. Yeah, we're best friends forever? Yes, we are.
All
so,
right,
Ordo Xenos Inquisitor Nashir Shahanson, I'm very upset that I got that, not you, has all but taken over the defense of the region surrounding Octaria. Shahanson was a very active Inquisitor for many years, renowned for his brutal first-hand application of remorseless force against the Xenos. Looking at some of these dates, I wouldn't be surprised if he's about the same age as Cryptman, actually. It's like two old men slap fight, basically. However, after grievous injuries suffered during a Harud cleansing, he was forced... The Harud are great. I love the Harud because they're kind of like... you know, when you watch a sitcom from like the 80s and the early 90s, you always have characters that the sitcom talks about, but they never show on screen until like the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the off-screen characters that they talk about.
Yeah, and Cheers, Norm's wife, whose name I never remember.
Right, and...
Vera.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, it's kind of like that. They never really have the crud front and center, but they always talk about them. He was forced to take a more strategic role later in his life just because he's so messed up.
Yeah.
He had never been a supporter of Cryptman, and he believed that the orcs and the Tyranids would soon escape from Octarius. So instead of creating a dead zone on the outer verges of Octarius Sector, he did exactly the opposite. The worlds nearest to Octaria were evacuated of all their military might and materiel. These were disguised as redeployments, which they were, technically, but they would never come back. The abandoned systems were overrun one after the other by either Tyranids or orcs. Their appeals for assistance were left unanswered, but cataloged for information on enemy movements within the zone. So they used the call the cries for help and assistance as data gathering.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Okay, so there's the unbelievable grimdark of
well,
of
it's like
story.
Is it very much different from Cryptman? I don't think so.
No, it's not. It's just wow. Okay, so so the edge of the abandoned region was formed the Cordon and Penetra. Worlds were heavily fortified and their production facilities were pressed into high levels of production. These systems were all set up to repel massive invasions by the enemy, or at least hold the line while nearby systems in the Cordon and Penetra respond with assistance. In many ways, Sahanson's strategy wasn't really anathema to Cryptman's. Both strategies involved a passive wait-and-see approach. It's just that Sahanson wasn't willing to exterminate trillions of human lives by his own hand in order to accomplish his goals.
Coward.
But he let, the other, whatever.
They let the Tyranids and the orcs do it for him, right? Like,
yeah, he's not any better. Whatever. Other military commanders, inquisitors, and politicians believed that waiting for the enemy to come to them was a mistake, and that they should be making large-scale strikes into Octarius to purge the threat. These detractors might have been proven to be at least, have a point when the Tyranids and orcs simultaneously struck at the Pencalis subsector. The Court in Penetra was only about 50% of the strength that Sahanson,
gotcha, nailed it.
Sahanson, there we go, was hoping to reach at the time when the attack was called the Pencalis Breakout, which sounds like a very odd, pandemic or something. All right, so several systems were struck simultaneously, some by orcs, others by the Tyranids, and some by both. Why can't we have both? One of the more interesting conflicts early in the war was at the Kernox system, which was coveted greatly by Bloodaxe's boss, Nabrot Stubfingers. I like that name.
It's a great name.
Yeah. They tried the Forge World in that system before and failed, so Stubfingers wanted to have another go. Using captured Mechanicus vessels as fire ships, they disabled most of the system's orbital defenses and assaulted the world in force. Most of the rest of the system fell, due in no small part to a rival faction of orcs led by Sturbog the Face Grinda. Yeah, there's a respectable name. Sturbog the Face Grinda showing up and causing further chaos. Fabricator General Esmeralda Brynlock. Yeah, Brynlock, right? Yeah, sure. Was forced to evacuate herself and their Forge World's many priceless technological secrets. One of the first things Stubfingers did was commission the looting of a brand new Bane blade, which he christened Gork's Otherfoot. Okay, Adam, I know what you need to build next.
Gork's Otherfoot.
They also made a lot of excellent toys to fight the Tyranids, including one called the Biggest Boomstick, which sounds like a lot of fun.
It does, right?
Man, you gotta start renaming some of your. Well, no, you've got actually really good names for all your vehicles. So,
oh yeah.
So it's time to go buy a Bane blade.
Yeah, it's true. I need to slow down my painting and my repainting so I can go back again and start renaming things.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, okay, sure. You do that, man. You have fun.
So another interesting situation was there's a lot in here. So again, remember that these campaign books are meant for you to grab little seeds here and there and tell your own stories, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of little stories, little nuggets, little vignettes and stuff that you don't want to hear us talk about it all night, right? Like, we're going to pick out a few of the ones that really stood out to us. So another situation that was cool was that of the Kuzolst system, where the planetary governor had pressed their population to such a degree of output capacity that dissent raged among the masses, making it ripe for both chaos and Genestealer cult activity. This is another kind of, echo that goes through 40K lore. It happens a lot. But unfortunately for the Chaos elements, their warp-touched leaders' brains exploded when the Tyranids showed up. But the Genestealer cults rejoiced. Yay! Our gods are here. At least until the orcs showed up. So here the planetary governor enacted a strategy out of Cryptman's handbook also. He and his military commanders, but just on the ground, right? So his military commanders allowed the orcs and the Tyranids to fight one another and wear each other out, while the Imperial forces rested and recuperated. So they kind of fell back into defensive positions, drawing the enemies towards each other, using scouting missions and distraction missions to get them to meet in combat and fight each other. And then they would counterattack, or they would like ambush the remnants of whatever force survived the fight, which on a small scale does kind of work. When you can react to the situation hours or days after it happens, instead of months or years after a conflict in space, it actually kind of works. On this smaller scale, Kuzlost was a grinding war of attrition, and it did cost millions of lives. But unlike on other worlds, they held their ground. The activities of another Inquisitor, Athocles Van Roth, are detailed in the supplement as well. He got his hands on a mechanical crown devised by an orc named King Mech Badcrasha. So this guy, remember, keep in mind, this is what's his name? Shahanson's. This is one of Shahanson's detractors as well.
Right.
They would rather take the fight to the Tyranids instead of just sitting and waiting for them to fight us. So this crown on King Mech Badcrasha seemed to have a destructive effect on the Shadow and the Warp. It took some doing, but the Death Watch did manage to get a hold of the crown and hand it over to the Inquisitor. They all decided they should try to figure out how to use the crown against the Tyranids. So they put together a big, very expensive force of Death Watch and Astra Militarum just for a field test. They brought it to an area called the Octarius Belt. This is the area where we were talking about before, where the Eldari had created the cordon around a maiden world.
Right. And
they got this information from one of their other inquisitorial allies in the system. Not like, here's some information. The message was more like, oh God, not in the face. Help me. So they met on the world of Valoria, the maiden world of Valoria, to test out the crown.
All right. So in this area, Van Roth figured it was safe to fight a small war to test the crown. Extraction shouldn't prove difficult. When they enacted the plan, they initially failed at getting the crown to work properly using a captured orc mech, and failed to get working at all with anyone else. Worse, it seemed that use of the crown attracted more orcs to the system. The Imperials decided to use the crown to lure the orcs into the boxed-in Tyranid positions on the world, then collapse a crashed Aldari ship into the mountain pass, trapping them in a natural formation, then escape while they distracted each other. The only trick was they had to work with and trust the Aldari in order to gain access to the structure. Yeah, right. They were too late. By the time they'd set the Aldari vessel to self-destruct, the entire region on both sides of the mountains were overrun by orcs. They're probably all dead, or mostly. 1 2-page spread in the campaign book. Talks about a region known as Demaw. Interesting. Where the orcs and Tyranids have been committing unending forces to the fray. This is the kind of world Cryptman had been hoping the entire region would have turned into. A charnel house of blood and bone. The place was reminiscent of a bloody demon world of Khorne. As such, it attracted a World Eaters warband led by Lord Volda Bloodprice. He had promised his warriors with the perfect war. There were endless skulls to take and limitless blood to spill. He was followed by not only other World Eaters, but Beastmen, Cultists, Dark Mechanicus, Traitor Knights, and more. By the time the fighting was thick, he had earned the right to ascend as a Demon Prince. Wow. Even though the cordon with reinforcement is holding for now, cultists of all kinds are still leaking out with refugees. Even if the Imperium wins this war, there will be significant repercussions. Unbelievable. That's a pretty cool, bit of lore there. I like the region known as Demaw,
I was trying to find that song. I didn't have it queued up for this moment. But imagine that rising that this is the most beautiful day, and I'm glad I'm spending it with you, or whatever. Remember that song? From like the early aughts, I think it was. Anyways, they're having a great day, and it's very much it echoes the story of boss. What am I thinking of? The orc war boss that went to the demon world and had a wonderful afterlife.
No, I can't remember his name either, but I know who you're talking about.
I only have Tuska the demon killer. So yeah, it's like it echoes Tuska. So these orcs and these world eaters and these Tyranids they're just endlessly feeding each other exactly what they need, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm sure Khorne is very pleased.
Yeah. So this area is unlikely to hold, I think.
Right.
You can say even with that cordon in place, you still have cultists leaving, and even if the Imperium does win, it won't matter. The damage has been done, and there's still way too much energy in that life system. You can't contain it unless you snuff out every star in the area. And if you start going down that route, well, I don't know what's left. As long as there's stars there, you can eventually create a world to live in that humanity can use. If you start snuffing out stars, well, then that's going to be a problem. And that's probably something that we're very concerned about the Necrons doing.
Yeah.
I think that's something the Necrons would definitely do to counter the Tyranid threat. And, if entire swaths of the galaxy start just going dark, that's almost even worse than the warp, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, this is all interesting, how to look at the how this could evolve further in the lore.
Mm-hmm.
We're already getting those dead zones from the Necrons where they're killing everything off, so you don't have, the warp.
Right, which to be fair works for their purpose. It does solve a lot of problems, but it's it's even bad for the hive fleets. Like they rely on psychic communion to contact the hive mind, to link with the hive mind. So those dead zones are not very helpful to them. So yeah, I think that it's very interesting going forward what's going to happen. So throughout all this book, there's communication with Cryptman. I wonder if the next book we're going to actually get Cryptman's direct involvement. Like maybe the Imperium is going to have to mea culpa and ask for help because nobody else knows what to do. Nobody knows the Tyranids like Cryptman does.
That is true. That
And
is true.
there's a few things in here which I thought were interesting, a few stories that make me think there's certain things coming for orcs in the next one, in the next Octarius book.
Yeah.
So like some of the relics that they talk about, some of the stuff that, like we were talking about, the biggest boomstick and stuff. I wonder if we're going to get those as Crusade relics in the next book. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Well, I think Gork's other foot's pretty hilarious.
Oh, it's delightful. I definitely want to drive around Gork's other foot. That would please me to no end. Can you imagine if they actually did looted vehicles? I mean, for Crusade, that's not a big deal. You just put the power level up there, whatever.
Yeah.
You know. Okay.
I think that would be good. I mean, but, I'm a narrative player. What am I talking about?
Can you imagine if you're playing against your opponent and you destroy one of their vehicles and you use a requisition to say, yeah, you have to remove that from your Crusade force because I'm taking it. Thanks. That would be mean. That would be kind of terrible.
Death Skulls / Blood Ravens.
Death Ravens. Blood Skulls. All right, great. So why don't we take a quick break? I'm interested in what's going on in the other room here. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the campaign rules and Crusade rules in this book and the White Dwarfs. Just an FYI, we are not going to go through the mission pack, and we're not going to go through the supplements. We do not have time for that, but we will we will someday. All right, we'll be right back. Damn, I knew it was around here somewhere. Damn, where is it?
Can I help you?
Ah! Scared me.
What do you seek?
I need the perfect scenario for a narrative game I'm running this week, and I can't find one.
Sir, this is the Black Library. We don't have narrative scenarios.
Well, then where should I go?
Might I recommend the Tabletop Campaign Repo?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo? What's that?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo is an ad-free site for hosting resources related to playing tabletop miniatures wargaming.
Oh, like scenarios?
Absolutely. Also, event packs, custom objectives, tracking sheets, custom terrain rules, maps, icon packs, award templates, and more.
Oh, and this is for Warhammer 40k?
Among other things. There's also Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and others. They're always open for content submissions for any system, even non-Games Workshop materials.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like a great way to save all of this great content the community makes. A lot of that stuff often ends up disappearing into a dead message board or Facebook group.
Exactly. It's a real community effort.
Great. So how do I get there?
Just go to that webway gate marked tcrepo.com.
tcrepo.com. Got it. Can I ask you one more question before I go?
Fire away.
This place is really easy to find. How come Aramon can never find it?
Oh, because it's more funny that way.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Once again, the Tabletop Campaign repository can be found at tcrepo.com, and they're always looking for submissions.
I was wondering how long it was going to take you to stop me.
I was wondering myself. Okay, go for it.
Welcome back. So I just want to jump in before we get started on these rules and let you guys know we've been having some communication issues between Jason and myself. Fortunately, the communication issues are not between either of us and the recording server, so the audio sounds fine. Every once in a while, Jason's talking and I'm like, I have no idea if he's talking right now, actually. So if I'm not immediately responding to everything he's saying or responding at all, it probably means the sound is going.
Well, my whole my internet access for the last 3 days has just been garbage. But hey, man, I live in the state of Texas.
Wouldn't it be great if your track and my track were totally off?
No, we're not going to. No, we've done that before. That was bad.
Wouldn't that be super sweet?
No,
if that
'cause
happened and you had to like go. I had no time to turn off the mic during that one. Wow.
Dude, the waveform is amazing looking. It's so beautiful.
Oh my god. You should use that for Beyond the Fringe.
I think I'll make it my ringtone instead.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, book 1, The Rising Tide, campaign rules. They've been expanding on the same campaign rules in every book, and they get better and better every book. This one introduces a campaign tree, which includes actually a sheet that you can photocopy in the back. Not that anybody has a photocopier anymore, but that's fine. Take a picture of it and print it out. The campaign tree is set for each phase of the campaign. So you start with one mission that everybody does, and then the winner plays. So you say what the tree will be before the campaign starts. And actually, each of these trees is a stage in the campaign, right? So it's and you have like 3 or 4 stages, and that lets you play for like 3 months, and then you end the campaign, which is always really important. Have an ending for your campaign. Don't make it drag out. So you set the tree ahead of time, and you set the rewards for each phase ahead of time, so people know what they're getting into. Each stage of the tree has a specific victor bonus picked out by the campaign master. You can roll for them, but it's probably better for them to make sense for the mission or war zone you have chosen for that stage. Okay? So, let's see. And you can't use the same reward twice. You have to pick a different reward for each phase of the tree.
One thing that I've found really interesting is we now have campaign masters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone to actually be that game master, that DM.
Right. So I'm going to roll a D36 just to give you an example of one of the possible victor bonuses for that phase. So 13. Command Net. Domination of the planetary VoxNet will ensure your troops can execute your battle plan flawlessly. Once per battle, when you use a battle tactic stratagem, that stratagem costs 0 CP. So a free battle tactic. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But as you can see, it's very specific what you get it from, right? So the mission that you pick should probably at least feel like you're taking control of a command network. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So like the objectives should be good at like representing some kind of command network. So there are some examples of campaign trees in the book, and it actually splits them up. It actually gives you some matched play if you wanted to do a match play campaign, which is interesting. I don't know if I'd ever do that, but so like in this one, stage 1, the victor bonus is vital supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2, the victor. So they would use the supplies from above mission. That's in the regular Crusade mission pack. Okay. So you remember supplies from above, where like the I think it's that the objectives move, if I recall correctly. I don't remember. Anyways, supplies from above, the victor bonus is vital supplies. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Stage 2, the victor bonus is command net. The one we just rolled. And those missions are narrow the search and ambush. Now, I would almost give different victor bonuses depending on which mission you actually end up playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways, it looks like a lot of fun. I think this would be a fun way to do it. These campaign trees, I think it's really cool. And also we get the campaign master's edicts, which are usually random special rules that you use during the campaign to either add flavor or add balance. Like if one side is running away with the campaign, you can kind of provide a little bit of extra. For example, one thing they suggest is using extra requisition points to give to the losing team to represent the information or that reinforcements are inbound, or they've been provided some sort of intel to help them win the campaign. Also, giving XP, bonus XP for different reasons. Sometimes just because the player is just doing so badly, they need extra XP, and they're learning from their mistakes. I guess from the narrative perspective, that makes sense. Also for if they're using the shadow missions and they complete a shadow mission, extra bonus XP for that, or giving bonus XP for winning phase if they want. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Now, the shadow missions are pretty cool.
Yeah, I do like these.
These are pretty neat. So if you put a unit into strategic reserve, a lot of the time you don't really think about much other than they're arriving later.
Yeah, you're just waiting for them to come back.
They're just waiting for them to get there. They were just like delayed, or they were going to a more strategic position. In this, it's describing that it's telling you, oh, they're off performing a special mission for you. And when they get back, you're going to have some kind of bonus when they return. I thought that was really neat. I think that's fun. So the more powerful the unit is, it has to be infantry, it has to be elite or a troop, and 10 or fewer models. The higher the power level, the greater a chance that it will complete the shadow mission. And if you wait until if you try to bring them back on turn 2, it's more difficult than if you try to bring them back on turn 3.
Right.
Okay. So we each picked one, just to give you an example. I picked Sabotage Comms Network. So deploy scramblers, vox jammers, and any other means you can to disrupt the foe's means of communication. To succeed on battle round 2, you need a 6+. To succeed on battle round 3, you need a 5+. If you accomplish it, the cost of all battle tactic stratagems your opponent has access to is increased by 1 CP. So you've disrupted their communication, so they're going to have a lot harder time giving out those orders. That is a super neat way to adjudicate that scenario.
For me, for whatever reason today, I was kind of in a Raven Guard mood, I guess. I don't know.
Fair.
Yeah. I went with Assassinate command structure, which is probably the most Raven Guard of the shadow missions. If you can assassinate the enemy's rear echelon command structure, their army will be thrown into a fit of disarray. So if they come in on battle round 2, they start with a 7 up to succeed, which means you don't want to probably come in on battle round 2. And you probably want to have a larger unit, or at least a higher power rating unit.
Yeah.
Roll to succeed on battle round 3 is a 6 up. So if you have a unit with power rating of 11 up, which honestly you could do that pretty easily with Space Marines.
Oh yeah, especially a 10-man unit. Yeah.
Oh yeah. then you could easily drop that down to like what, a 4-up on the third battle round.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost of all if this is accomplished, the cost of all core stratagems your opponent has access to is increased by 1 CP, making everything more expensive.
Yeah, especially if, like the command reroll would be 2 CP instead of 1 CP. So when they come back from that mission after seeing if they accomplished it, whether they accomplished or not, you roll a dice for each model in the unit, and for every one you lose a model, because that represents casualties taken during the mission. If they're an elite unit, they get to reroll 1s in the mission success table.
Yeah, that was interesting, because then you could take like this is Space Marines, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What, Vanguard vets or Stern Guard vets at least? Those would all be easily 11 points or 11 power level, and then they'd be elites, so you could pretty quickly grab 4-up. Well, from my mission, be 4-up with rerolling 1s. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, no, you don't want it to be a guarantee.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you definitely want it to be attainable. You want people to do it on purpose. That you want people to want to do it. And actually, I think providing a little XP to those units, like one of the Campaign Master's Edicts suggested, is not a terrible idea. If they succeed at one of those missions, why not give them a little XP? That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Also, there was a rule for concealed deployment. So it's kind of like strategic reserves, where you spend CP to put a certain power level worth of models into concealed deployment. These are first deployed as numbered tokens, kind of like Genestealer Cult deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you both take turns revealing 1 unit at a time before the game starts.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but I like that because there's a similar rule in certain versions of Zone Mortalis where you just have blips.
Yes,
and I like that.
I like that a lot too. I think that's really cool. All right, so let's get into. So that's it for the campaign rules. I think that they're improving them quite a bit. I think I like this a lot.
Oh yeah.
I need to rope it up Curtis or Tucker or John into doing a tree campaign, like a simple 3-game tree with me.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think that'd be cool. Anyways, let's go into the actual Crusade rules. So just like usual, we both, instead of reading all of these, you can go and read them yourself. We'll just say our favorite ones. Yeah, there's a lot of, this book is chock full.
Yeah.
There's a little something for everyone.
Yep.
Let's start with a generic, Pencalis assault unit, battle traits. Anybody can take this. There's only there's 3 requisitions that are specific to a faction, but all the rest of these can be taken by pretty much any faction. I guess, Oh yeah, the other table is monsters and vehicles. The one table is excluding monsters and vehicles. So yeah, pretty much anybody.
Yep.
I picked for battle traits Phantom Scouts. So this unit's knowledge of stealth capabilities is such that they approach the battlefield as invincible phantoms. So if you're using concealed deployment, I wanted to have a cool, use one of the cool abilities in my choice here. This unit can be placed into concealed deployment without having to spend any additional CPs, regardless of how many units are already in concealed deployment. So you get these on top of the ones you've already put in concealed deployment.
Right.
If you don't use... Okay, so until the start of the second battle round, each time a ranged attack is made against this unit, it gets cover. It gets light cover. So they're super spooky. Which one did you pick, dude?
I picked up. Well, there's two of them because I kind of liked two of them, and I was. Well, I liked one of them, and I thought, no, I can't go with just that one. So the one I picked was Elite Operatives. This unit excels at performing operations behind enemy lines. If the mission uses the Strategic Reserve rules, this unit can be placed into Strategic Reserves without having to spend any additional CPs, regardless of how many units are already in Strategic Reserves. If a shadow mission is assigned to this unit, each time you roll a d6 to see if that shadow mission is successful, add 1 to the result.
I was hoping you'd pick this one. Again, like harkening back to the special rules that we learned about just now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, the thing is, we keep talking about shadow missions. I keep thinking about the, what was that Raven Guard unit, or that Raven Guard chapter, the Shadow Masters? But it was also Korax's, like, personal crew of Mordathan that, like, disappeared. And so, like, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, wow, cool.
But I know the way that I play, and so I'll probably end up running Destined for Greatness, because it's basically Destined for Greatness, but you get 5 experience instead of 3. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but I did like the Elite Operatives because it just reminded me of Raven Guard so much. So yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Requisitions. There's like 3 generic ones and 3 species, faction-specific ones. I picked the Orc one.
Yeah.
Octarian Ruck Boys, so they love to ruck, which is really interesting. Do I dare do this in Orc voice? No, I won't do it. The Octarian Empire has bred some of the meanest artist mobs of greenskins there are. When the Tyranids arrived, Orcs only thrived in the fighting, always up for a challenge, and always spoiling for a good fight. So purchase this requisition when you add a boys unit to your order of battle. That unit gains the Octarian Ruck Boys keyword. Its power rating is increased by 1, and every other model in that unit has a strength characteristic of 5. So they're basically the same strength as Beast Snaga Boys.
Okay.
The unit gains 6 experience points and therefore gains the Blooded rank. Select 1 battle honor for them as normal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Your
That's
Crusade force
really
can only contain 1 Octarian Ruck Boys unit, and you cannot purchase requisition if doing so would cause your total power level to exceed your Crusade force's supply limit. So yeah, those guys are pretty cool.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Get like a pre-made, like, that's 2 RP, by the way, but you got a pre-made, like, veteran unit of boys, which is cool.
That is pretty cool. There's part of me that wants to do the Inquisitorial agenda in Orc voice now, though, since you didn't do it. Anyway, okay. So, in the last sentence of this one was why I chose it.
Fair.
In helping an Inquisitor to achieve their own inscrutable agenda, a few honored Imperium servants earn the gratitude of the Holy Ordos. And the reward for a job well done is typically another job. Yeah.
Well, instead of getting executed for seeing too much.
Yeah, you hear more work. Get back to work, Imperial citizen. All right. So, purchase this requisition when you're selecting agendas. You can add 1 additional agenda to use in that battle. So, yeah, that's something that could be interesting.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
These are all pretty good. They're all, and a lot of the time these like harken back to other stuff you're doing in the campaign, in the specific campaign. There's one for shadow missions and stuff like that. So, expect that if there's new rules in the campaign book, that the Crusade stuff will tie into it, which is just good rules writing. Good supplement writing. It should do that. So campaign agendas. So these aren't just agendas. These aren't things you pick during the game or before the game. This is things you pick before the campaign begins.
Wow.
And this will have permanent effects on your, these will have permanent effects on your Crusade force. So keep that in mind. So I pick First Among Equals. I love the idea of people on the same side of a campaign competing with each other. I find that delightful. And there is a bit of a gamble here. Like, what if someone else is going for First Among Equals, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can only select this campaign agenda if there are 2 or more players in your alliance. Keep a first among equals tally. At the end of each stage of a campaign, if you contributed the most planetary assault points to your alliance, add 1 to your number of experience points equal to double your first among equals tally to distribute freely across Pancalus assault units in your Crusade force. In addition, if your first among equals tally is 5 or more, you gain D3 requisition points. So
Okay.
yeah, so if you have like a 8 tally, you get 8 bonus experience points and D3 requisition points.
Wow.
As a reward.
Okay.
That would be amazing, but it's a gamble. You're not guaranteed to be the best, especially if you miss a few nights of games.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I picked Shadow War because I decided to go ahead and, keep that theme going. So, prosecute a successful Shadow War to undermine your foe's war efforts. Keep a Shadow War tally each time a unit from your Crusade force successfully accomplishes a Shadow mission. Add the Shadow Operatives keyword to that unit's Crusade card. Add 1 to your Shadow War tally. At the end of the campaign, if your Shadow War tally is 3 or more, you gain 6 experience points to distribute freely across Shadow Operatives units in your Crusade force. That's kind of
pretty
cool.
neat. I like that. That's
I like
fun.
that
And
these
again,
guys are now getting a Shadow Operatives keyword. That is some. I
yeah,
guess
that's neat, right?
Yeah.
They'll always have that keyword, and you can it's nice to see on the sheet, right?
Yeah. Well, lately I've been with the Thousand Suns in the old Horse Heresy lore. There's actually they actually have like a saboteur group that they don't really write much about. They're just a lovely little throwaway, not even throwaway line, but it's in there about the hidden ones. And I've kind of started adding that group to my sorcerers and whatnot by giving them green cloaks. That's who those guys are. And if it's a purple cloak, then they might be Alpha Legion,
Right.
etc. I've started adding this sort of stuff in there without meaning to. Cool. All right, next up.
So, next we have fortification upgrades. So, fortifications don't gain XP, and in the campaign mission pack, or in the new mission pack, it's a planetary assault mission pack. So the defender is encouraged to have fortifications and terrain on their that they place. We'll talk more about that when we talk about the mission pack, but buildings and fortifications are very much a part of this campaign system. So they've included not only the rules for all the fortifications that they produce currently in the book here for the unaligned ones like the Bastion and the Aegis Defense line, but there's also some cool upgrades you can give them. Each upgrade, you can have up to 3 upgrades per unit, or per building, sorry. If it's non-Titanic, it's 1 power rating. If it's Titanic, it's a 2 power rating per upgrade.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. What did I pick? Searchlights? No, underground bunker. So they're ammo store, minefield, escape hatch, Magos machine spirit, searchlights, void shield, underground bunker, reinforced walls, sanctified foundations, and defensive auto feeder. A lot of these upgrades are harken back to the original rules for fortifications when they first came out. You could add all these upgrades. The one I picked is underground bunker. You can only use this upgrade on a building model that has the transport keyword, and the transport capacity of this building model is increased by 5 models. So it'd be super sweet to have a bastion that can hold 20 instead of 15.
Oh yeah.
For orcs, that would be really nice to have.
Yeah. I had kind of a difficult time trying to figure out which one I wanted to take, because there's some really good stuff in here, and then I just kind of thought the one that I thought was most least in my mind, what I would do would be the defensive auto feeder.
Mm-hmm.
The defensive weapons mounted on the stronghold are fed from an extensive magazine by servo auto feeders. Each time this building model makes a ranged attack with a weapon that has a strength characteristic of 6 or less, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Which I thought that was kind of, a nice kind of like an idea for Daka type of rule. Just here's an extra hit for getting 6s. Yeah, I think that one works. Actually, I liked I think I liked every one of these upgrades. I found the Magos Machine Spirit one to be really interesting too. So,
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, that one's really cool because it you don't have to target the closest thing, I think, or Searchlight's cool, ammo store. They're all fun.
Yeah. I liked all of them on here. It gives your building a little bit more, oomph, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially they're pretty pricey too. So it's nice to have some upgrades on those. And it talks about how if it's destroyed, how do you might lose some upgrades. There's a role for it. Anyways, let's move on to the faction-specific Crusade rules. So, again, we're not going to talk about the factions specifically in this book, like all the special rules and stuff, but we will let's talk about the Crusade rules. Instead of each of us picking 2 from each list, that would be annoying.
And there's not that many, to be honest.
There's not a lot. This isn't a full-fledged codex for these factions. It's like kind of a stopgap until they can get a book produced.
Yeah.
So I am doing the Astra Militarum Crusade rules, and Jason's doing the Tyranid ones. Let's see. The agenda I picked is forwards for the Emperor. At the end of the battle, select up to 6 Astra Militarum units from your army, excluding aircraft, that are wholly within your opponent's deployment zone. Each of these units earns 1 experience point. That's going to be very hard for an Astra Militarum player.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate the fullness of that agenda. Phil would do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Actually, no, he would be upset at the concept of there being 6 units left in his army at the end of the game. Like, what kind of a guard commander are you that you allow 6 units to survive this game? You weren't trying hard enough.
There is one called Inspired Command, though, that might be more Phil's type.
Oh, yeah. Add 1 to unit's Inspired Command tally each time it issues an order or a tank order to a friendly unit, and that unit then destroys 1 or more enemy units during the same phase. At the end of the battle...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I read that wrong. I thought
You thought they destroyed his own men? No.
Yeah,
no.
I read that wrong.
Yeah.
It happens to be a friendly unit.
Fair.
Destroys.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds like Phil.
The requisition I picked is Uplifting Primer. You can actually add an Uplifting Primer to a unit.
Oh, that's
the Imperial
nice.
Infantryman's Uplifting Primer can be requisitioned in bulk. It contains everything a guardsman needs to effectively defeat the enemies of mankind, and it is a great source of great comfort and inspiration to any loyal servant of the Emperor who can read. Purchase it when a unit gains a rank, excluding Rattling or Ogryn units, because they can't read, apparently. That unit gains the following ability: Uplifting Primer. Add 1 to this unit's leadership characteristic. In addition, each time you add 1 to a unit's battle survive tally, this unit gains 1 additional experience point. Add 1 to this unit's crusade point. So it gets extra experience every time it actually survives a battle. Because they know the reason they did it was because they read their primer.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Battle
trait Guerrillas. It makes your unit, excluding conscripts, into hit and run specialists, so they can fall back and shoot with a -1 to hit. which is pretty cool. There's also Crazed, which they're insane.
Yeah.
They can auto pass morale once per turn, or once per game, which is really cool.
That is pretty cool.
Then the relic is the Metal Macaria. The most inspiring officers are awarded the Metal Macaria officer model with senior officer ability only. Once per shooting phase, the bearer can issue 2 orders on the same unit. 2 orders on the same unit is pretty great.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Not just 2 orders, but 1 unit gets to be super great. Like they can fall back and shoot with rerolling 1s or some nonsense, which is really great. And that is my examples from the Astra Militarum list, which is pretty. Yeah. I thought a lot of they were very thematic, but definitely light. You're definitely waiting for that new codex.
Yeah. So I took the Tyranid Crusade rules, and so kind of looked at some stuff. There's 1 or 2 that there aren't a whole lot of them, so I thought, I looked at the ones I thought would be most in line with how I game. So what was it? My agenda is recover biomass. So slay every prey creature and return their biomass so that the next wave of warrior organisms can be created. At the end of the battle, if there are no enemy models remaining on the battlefield, each Tyranid High Fleet unit from your army that is on the battlefield gains 3 experience points. So, that kind of what's what I'm looking for. It makes you want to, table your opponent. Yeah. Which, back in the old days of NIDS, in 6th edition and parts of 7th edition, you weren't you weren't tabling anything. So I thought that was kind of a fun one. The next one was Requisitions, which I do like this one. Adapt warrior organisms. So the hive mind can absorb the biomass of its warrior organisms before changing their physiologies and adapting them in order to defeat a new foe. Purchase Requisition at any time. Select 1 Tyranid High Fleet unit from your order of battle that has no battle scars. That unit loses all or any battle traits that it currently has. And for each battle trait that's lost, you can now select a new trait for it, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of a reprogramming of the NIDS. Yeah, I really like that one. Let me see what I picked for battle traits. I picked Synaptic Instincts. Even when not guided directly by the will of the hive mind, the swarm does not revert to its baser instincts. So the swarm unit loses its instinctive behavioral ability, which I've always kind of hated on one hand, I've really liked the instinctive behavior rules in the past, but it's always like, well, now I don't, maybe I can't even control these guys anymore. So I kind of like that. There's stuff for synapse units also. They've got 3 of their own battle traits that are kind of cool.
Okay. It's like the characters, like the main characters.
Okay, so the relics. I just happened to open the page and my eyes caught this one relic, and I absolutely love the name of the relic. Spirit Leech Cortex. Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. This cranial adaptation is seldom encountered, but when it is the leader beast that possesses it appears to be psychic. When it is, the leader beast that possesses it appears to psychically drain the life from its prey, feeding off the psionic essence and gaining great strength from it. So, Psyker model only. Each time an enemy unit loses a wound as a result of a mortal wound inflicted by a psychic power manifested by the bearer regains 1 lost wound. The bearer can never regain more than 3 wounds per phase. And until the start of your next psychic phase, add 1 to the bearer's strength characteristic to a maximum of +3. So I think that's kind of cool. That does make the psychic NIDS a little more, beefy and more terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all of these campaign books, adding a little bit more, as I didn't think that they were going to do stopgaps for factions, and something tells me that Games Workshop had no intention of doing stopgap rules for any of these factions, but
COVID
gestures vaguely around the world.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. It's a thing. It's something we're going to have to live with for a while now, but that's okay. There is content here for you if you're an Astra Militarum or Tyranid player, and it will enhance your Crusade gameplay. And I would recommend folks try out the campaign rules here, because that opens up even more requisitions and special abilities for those players. Obviously, it opens up for everybody, but giving those players more options is nice. So maybe try out some of these campaign rules. Even if you don't want to do Octarius specifically, you can use some of the rules from here to generate your own Warzone. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot I know that sometimes all these details can seem overwhelming. I must say, try to read it. Try to ignore the things that don't pertain to you. I think sometimes we get overwhelmed by seeing a book this big and full of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get overwhelmed, but not everything is specifically for each person. If you're not a Deathwatch player, ignore that stuff. If you're not a Cadian player, ignore the Cadian stuff. Focus on the stuff that pertains to you, and I think you'll see that it's not as complicated as you think. It just adds texture to your force for Crusade. I'm looking forward to playing more Crusade.
Yeah.
I need to play more Crusade.
I need to play more, period. But yes, more Crusade would be nice.
Yeah. Like I was saying in last episode, it's been match play, ad infinitum for the past couple months, and I need to tap the brakes and step back and try to get some Crusade in. Yeah. Although I do, like I said, I do have Du Bois coming up, and I'm trying to line up a Crusade game with someone, but still, I probably should be using that time to play another match play game before I go out there. But after that, I'm totally switching gears, and I'm going to. I guess really the main reason I want to do a Crusade game is to try out some of these rules and try out some of the missions in the new book with the Planet Strike stuff, just so we can talk about it next time before, and that'll be the episode before I go to Du Bois. So we'll talk more about it. We'll see where I land after that. But anyways, let's take a break and come back and close out the show.
Hey Archons, does 9th edition have you feeling like the Slith Party Bus just doesn't have enough party for you? Well, if you want to put a little shock back into your shock brow, you need the Slith Party On! That's right, Archons. For 736 points, you can take 3 Archons, 12 Slith, and a Tantalus. It's the Slith Party On! Now I know what you're thinking. Couldn't I take Drazar, 15 Incubi and a Tantalus, aka the Incubi Murder Boat, for 51 less points? Sure you could, but it wouldn't be the Slith Party On! But is it legal? Oh yeah! Is it awesome? Oh yeah! Is it any good on the table? No! It's the all-new Slith Party On. Sort of awesome. Party On! Really hilarious. Party On! It's the Slith Party On!
Hello everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Oh, we've reached level 6. All right, welcome back. So again, we have another hobby night coming up this weekend for Halloween.
Yes.
I hope I can make it. I haven't talked to Wendy about it yet because we've got a lot going on here. But it's in the evening. We're not doing like a full 24 hours, right? We're doing just 12.
I have no idea.
But anyways, it's a movie marathon. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. And then Halloween, and Quinn's gonna be dressing up like Buzz Lightyear. Infinity and beyond. He actually says that. He goes, Infinity and beyond.
That'll be cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I love that. Next episode is definitely going to be talking about the new missions in the Octarius War Mission Pack. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Thank you. Yay! We did it.
Yay!
We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge.
And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
If you'd like to engage with us directly, you can always join our Discord server.
To do so, or if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor,
contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com.
Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/mastersoftheforge. Thanks.
The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.